Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome back to another LinkedIn Live as a part of Build Your Career in Salesforce LinkedIn Live series. We are super excited to have you all with us. I'm your host, Hasti, and today we will discuss everything about the most trending topics, Salesforce Associate and Business Analyst certifications that Salesforce recently launched. We all are aware that Salesforce is the number one CRM company globally, and according to International Data Corporation, that is IDC, there will be 9.3 million new Salesforce jobs by 2026. A previous study of job postings between 2013 and 2018 discovered that nearly half a million required at least one Salesforce skill, which is huge. You all must ask, why did Salesforce decide to launch new certifications in a pool of many existing ones? Well, Liz Hellinger, who is a trailblazer and MVP, shared two main reasons behind the launch of the Salesforce Associate Certification, and I quote here. Firstly, having a high level understanding of Salesforce is important for many jobs. You don't need to be on the administrator career path to need Salesforce skills. This fills a gap that was missing. And secondly, she said that a trailblazer does not need to be on a set career path to need Salesforce skills. The Salesforce Associate Certification is a valuable stepping stone for those who don't have the depth of experience needed to achieve a certified personal professional certification and who are looking to start the Salesforce journey. The idea behind Salesforce Business Analyst certification was that Salesforce uh, Business Analyst certification will assist all the business analysts who are currently on the job in demonstrating their knowledge to the community and potential employers. It will also provide a framework for those who want to become business analysts in the future, as well as structured learning and a career path. Now that we know the whys, let's dive deep into the other aspects of the topic. So today we have a very special guest for the second time on our live, Sheala Vast Binder, who is a certified Salesforce instructor, outstanding speaker, St. Louis Salesforce nonprofit community group co-leader, and a training manager. Let's welcome Sheila. Hi, Sheila. Welcome to
Hi.
our LinkedIn Live.
It's so
Thank you
good
so
to be
much
here.
for joining.
Yeah, it's good to be here with you again. It's such a pleasure to talk with you always.
It's a privilege to be talking to you, Sheila. And how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm grateful it's Friday. It's been a long week, but we're doing great here. Thank you.
Yes. So, Sheila, before we get started, I just want to share a few quick tips for our audiences. So, the smooth functioning of the session, which is the session will be recorded. So, you can revisit this on our YouTube channel. If you are facing any issues like difficulty loading the session, click on the event link and refresh the page. Also, if you have any subject related questions for a guest speaker, please leave them in the comment section and we will take them at the end of the live. All right, so let's get started. So Sheila, please tell us about your views on the certification launch first. Let's start with the Salesforce Associate, and then we'll move on to the Business Analyst one.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, most of you probably know that it just got launched last week, right, at Dreamforce. It actually caught me completely by surprise. I wasn't expecting it at all. So you can tell I'm not in the inner circles of people who are planning it. But I do think it serves its own purpose. And so it's kind of exciting to see it come out.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and the reason why we are here is because to discuss who can take the certification, who is it for, what are the resources, the exam guides, and all of these questions that people are intrigued about. So let's start. So Sheila, please tell us who is the certification for.
Okay. Well, I will be honest, when it first came out, I was a little bit appalled because I teach admin, right? And so many of our trainees work really hard on their admin certification. It's a very difficult certification, and I didn't want to see that get watered down. But the more I thought about it and the more I've heard about people taking it, I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense, because the niche group for this certification is all of those people who really don't want to become admins. And we do have a lot of them come through. We have people who want to be a business analyst, right? Or project manager or customer success manager, or maybe even on the sales side. And they need to grasp Salesforce, but they don't need to know how to dig into the configuration. And so that is a great population for this. And then the other flip side is anyone who's really struggled with the admin, who either couldn't pass it the first time or their nerves were so strong that they couldn't even get themselves in the door, right? I think this is a good certification for kind of laying a foundation, calming you down, and helping you make just a small first step. So I can see it being a good cert now that I've actually processed it for those populations, right? Yeah.
So do you think that because I have given my admin certification and I remember how difficult it was to study. So do you think that associate is a little easier than admin?
Everything that I've heard says that it is. I have not taken it. Like I said, at first I was like, it's a step down for me. Why would I take it? I had someone say yesterday, another instructor who said, she took it so that she could have a feel for it for other people. So I may take it for that reason. So I haven't taken it yet, but everyone I've talked to says it is easier because you do not, part of what makes the admin so hard is it's so broad. It covers so much material. And the associate is much more narrow. It's very much about knowing the data model, knowing how to learn within Salesforce, knowing why Salesforce is an excellent tool for businesses. So it's a lot more big picture and not as much of a deep dive that the admin is. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think, so I think we have asked this question a couple of times in our lives, and which is if you are going to, if you're going to pursue a career in Salesforce, the first step or the prerequisite is to get an admin certification. So do you think that now that Salesforce has launched associate certification, this would be a kind of a prerequisite for people, or admin is still very much the prerequisite?
I think it's going to be where people have to know a little bit more about what they want up front before they go down a path. So for instance, the associates is not, at this point, is not going to open a door for the other certifications. So with the admin, it's the foundation certification for most of the consultancies. For the app builder, I mean, you have to have it before you can move on for a lot of the certifications, right? With associates, it has no prerequisites, but right now there's nothing built on it afterwards. So it's almost more of a, you can get it if you don't plan to go down any of those other paths, or you could get it as just your first stepping stone towards your admin. So that's what I see. I don't see it being, it's not going to open configuration doors for you. It's not going to take you down consultancy path. It's not going to take you down a developer path. It's not going to take you down an architect path, right? It's really for those people who need to understand Salesforce, but who don't plan to be in the tool on a day-to-day basis, is how I've gathered. Yeah.
Okay. So, so we are talking that basically people who are using Salesforce on a day-to-day basis, it would be more useful for them. Um, you know, when people are using Salesforce as a tool in their businesses or in their organizations.
Yeah, for like front end users, right? People who are on the front end, but who don't necessarily want to be in the configuration side on the back end. That's what I see the associates being good for.
Yes, makes sense. So, are there any prerequisites, or is there a set criteria that people who have cleared certain degree or college degree or in a certain stream are eligible to take the certification?
The nice thing about this one is it's intended for people who have no experience to 6 months experience. It's really intended for that very entry level role. So there are no prerequisites. In fact, I read somewhere and I thought, oh, that's another good use for this. It would even be a good certification for if you're not positive you want to move into Salesforce, right? That you're thinking about it. Because it's only $70. It's less expensive than the others. It's shorter. It's only 40 questions instead of the normal 65. And so it would be a way of kind of testing the waters and seeing as you study, do I really like this, or is this going to be a waste of my time? So that's another, that's another good niche population for it.
Okay. So, so for example, suppose I have already taken my admin and other couple of certifications, and now I feel like, I want to um, go for this certification. Do you think that people who have already reached at a certain stage in the Salesforce ecosystem can also benefit from this, or is it going to add any value, or is it just like you said, it's just going away down and doesn't make any sense?
Well, if you had asked me this a few days ago, I would have said it was going backwards, to be honest. I did read something the other day. I read an article because I have been trying to keep up with it, right? It's only been out a week.
Yeah.
And someone said that it does actually cover some material, the admin doesn't, probably because it delves more into the why of Salesforce. Why does it exist? Why? And some of those entry level like data modeling questions. And so this particular person who had just taken it said there were a few things on it that were not on his admin. Now, granted, the admin changes, right? I mean, it just changed a year ago. It's different from it was when I first took it. So who knows when he took his admin? However, it's food for thought. It's like maybe there is a little bit on it that it doesn't cover in the admin. Personally, I wouldn't take it unless I was like in my position where I would just want to know how it is so I can pass it on to other people. There are too many great certifications going forward. So I would just keep going down the path I wanted to go down, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think it makes more sense for people who just want to have an idea about what Salesforce is and whether they want to pursue a career further in Salesforce ecosystem.
Yeah, that's who I would put it up for. I mean, unless you're just wanting to kind of have a fun cert that you get to take, and it's supposed to be an easier certification. So one day you just need the boost of your confidence. maybe you might take it for that reason, but it's $70. So do you want to spend $70 that way? Becomes the question, right?
Yeah. Okay. So would you recommend any resources that are out there and people can learn from or take mock tests before appearing for the exam?
Well, because it is so new, there aren't a ton of resources. I went looking, and really, right now, Trailhead itself is your best resource. For those of you who are brand new to the ecosystem, they do an exam guide for every single certification that's really well done. It tells you all of the details you need, and then it links to trails that you can do, and trails are just learning paths in Salesforce that you can do to prep for this particular certification. And then they've even put together a whole set of certification prep trails as well. So if you go to the website, and you might be sharing it, you can find the exam guide, and it also links, like I said, to these two different trails, both the study trail and the cert prep trail.
Yes, and I will be actually sharing a link to the exam guide where it is going to explain about the description, about the skills, the abilities, the purpose, about the exam, what the exam consists of, so you have a better idea how much you're going to spend, the references, the prerequisites, and it would also be sharing recommended training and references along with that. So there'll be an exam outline, and I will be sharing the link in the comment section. So please do check out.
Thanks, Hasty.
So, Sheila, let's move on to the business analyst certification.
Okay.
And could you please give an overview about the whole business analyst certification that was launched?
Sure. This one was launched in the summer, June or July. I can't remember which. And actually,
July.
it was it July. It may be my next one. I'm torn between studying for it or studying for my marketing cloud admin because I'm also on the marketing cloud path. But one of the two, I haven't decided for sure. So
Okay.
this is a great certification for people who are client facing, is what we call it, where you are working with clients on a regular basis. It actually could be a good certification for an admin who does a lot of client facing work, right? Or it can be a great certification if you want to be a BA. It could be great for someone who wants to go down the consultancy path because, again, the skill set is very similar if you're client facing. So this one covers, as far as roles go, it's good for lots of different people, but it is very much towards the client. It's very much towards the business and how you interact with the business and how you process what the business needs are in a way that makes it translatable for the dev team so that they know what they actually need to build and it's what the business most needs.
Okay, so basically, the associate one and the BA one, business analyst one, are completely different certifications, is what you are trying to say. This is more of a client facing. So, for example, if somebody wants to go on a consultancy path, or somebody is who is an admin and who is also kind of interacting with clients, this certification might help them. So, what values would this certification bring to a person who is, thinking about pursuing this?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me make sure it's clear that the BA one requires the admin. So, we talked about the associate. That's a step before the admin. If you wanted to go down a BA path, a business analyst path, you'd have to get your admin first because it is a prerequisite. But beyond that, um, the BA brings huge value. And from what I understand, there have been people in the ecosystem much longer than me who have been cheerleading this particular certification because as Salesforce grows and develops and becomes really more complicated, there are new roles being formed within the ecosystem. And a business analyst is one of those roles that's a few years old, but it's relatively new to Salesforce versus other technology settings. And so it is relatively new. And so when they started thinking about it, they realized that they needed more certification training around this particular role. And so that's what it's designed for, is to really help people grasp business analyst skills and what they look like in Salesforce. Because there are business analysts, in all kinds of technology roles, non-Salesforce roles. But working that role in Salesforce looks a little bit different. And so this certification preps you for using that skill set, but using it within the Salesforce setting.
Okay. So, um, okay, so that makes sense. But I want to understand, like, um, what would be the typical job roles of a Salesforce, certified business analyst
Um,
individual?
sure. Oh my gosh, they're so huge. You could use it as an admin. You can use it as a business analyst. You could use it as a solutions engineer. You can use it as a consultant. I mean, you could just keep going. It is a skill set that is needed in so many different roles that it really is almost a foundational kind of foundational kind of certification, even though in Salesforce, you don't have to have it to keep going up some of those paths, right? Um, it would not surprise me if it doesn't become a more foundational cert for some of the other paths at some point, but it's not there yet.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and from what I read, and like I completely agree with what you said, and from what I read, this opens doors to you can work as a business excellence leader, um, Salesforce administrator. We have already discussed. There's business operations, there's business process specialist, there's a CRM manager, there's a platform manager, product owner,
Product owner.
business,
Mhm.
yeah, business system analyst, consultant, which we again discussed, and of course the very obvious business analyst. So I think this is interesting, and this seems like there's a lot of opportunities in this particular area.
There are a ton of opportunities in this area. And I was actually surprised when I moved into Salesforce that it wasn't a focus area when I first moved over, but I've seen it become more of a focus. And it's exciting because I enjoy that space, right? And anytime you have client facing people, they need these skills. And so it's exciting for me that they've brought this one in. I love this one.
Yes, and in fact, now that we are discussing, I'm actually planning on learning more about this certification and possibly it has huge opportunities.
It does. It really does. And they are skills actually that you can even put to work in your personal life, which is what's really funny is anytime you're talking about how you interact and communicate with stakeholders, those are skills that become useful in family and in work and in community events. So it's a
Yeah.
skill set that kind of covers a broad range.
Yes, and I was also reading about um, there are certain things that you're not expected to know certain topics while you are kind of pursuing this, which is um, designing technical solutions or um, developing custom codes or ongoing administration of tools or legal or compliance issues. You don't have to know all of you're not expected to know or do the following things, which is also great.
It really is. And if you are someone who likes process mapping or writing user stories or really playing that, I call it a mediator role between the business and the dev team and sometimes other people, other stakeholders within the organization, then this is a really good certification for you because it teaches you, it helps prep you for that role. There are other BA skills out there. I mean, there's whole certifications around just business analysts in a non-Salesforce space. And so this one actually it recommends that you have some BA background, some BA experience, and some admin experience. But of course, you can get a certification without the experience, but then you're going to probably want to turn around and get some experience, right? Whatever that might look like for you.
Okay, so you're saying that the a person who is appearing um, should have some sort of experience before taking the certification, or the person can, if the person has admin certification, he or she can just prepare for the BA, ace the certification, and then get into the role. That's
Right.
right.
You could do it either way, right? The catch is, at least in the US, that people want you to have experience. They want you to have the certifications, but they also want you to have the experience. And so, whichever you do first, you're probably going to need both in order to get into a role. However, I'll admit we have trainees who come through the program with Supermoms who get their admin. They're very well suited to BA, and we do some BA training, and they get roles right out of the gate with just their internship through us. So you don't necessarily have to have like years of experience, but you
Yeah.
want to have something that you can put on your resume. Yeah.
Yes, and it's interesting because I was reading about this and researching. So what I read was, there was certain outline topics that you should be familiar about, which is the Salesforce implementation life cycle, or just understanding the Salesforce environment, best practices, um, some experience in the given industry, and understand the facilitation and documentation technique. So this is, these were the 4 points that were highlighted, and yeah, so pretty much, and then you have the obvious like some problem solving skills, some analytical skills, and some um, must have some, like you said, mapping business processes or um, eliciting some business processing and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, BA work is all about finding out from the client what their pain points are, what their needs are, what their goals are, and then somehow helping the dev team find solutions for those, right? That's what a BA role does. And so it covers a wide range of understanding Salesforce, understanding a business or an industry, and how do you bring those two together so that it's a good solution for the client.
Yeah, and the person who is in charge or who is BA is kind of so I just I'm sharing this information because if somebody is in the ecosystem and is trying to pursue or is thinking about pursuing BA, would be very much helpful. Like we are discussing that a person should um, should be basically may need some assistance with negotiating stakeholder conflict or setting business priorities, um, signing off on user adoption, enablement, designing and implementing business solutions, so on and so forth.
Right. Yeah. Because one certification can't cover everything, right? And so there are definitely skills that are outside of this one. One of the other things that I learned actually yesterday, that this certification has some overlap with some of the other ones. And so if you have an interest, for instance, in the architect path, the Sharing and Visibility Architect certification has some overlap with this particular certification. And there was one more. Let me look at my notes. Oh, the UX Designer, which is a relatively new certification too,
Yeah.
has some overlap. And so, again, a lot of the certs are interrelated somehow, and this one is true to that pattern.
Wonderful. That's something that would be food for thought for the audiences, that if they are thinking to kind of pursue the certification, it would give them a lot of idea about the various fields, and like you said, it's covering a lot of grounds, and I think it would be extremely helpful for everybody out there who is thinking about pursuing, or even somebody who wants to kind of, or somebody who is working as an admin and who wants to go further in the Salesforce ecosystem, can definitely go for the certification.
I think this is a really beneficial certification. Yeah, again, I think it lays a lot of foundation for just how you interact with clients and how you connect with the team. So that, part of what happens with projects is they fall through when you have bad BA, when you have bad business analysts, because the analysis, because then you don't have a good project, and if you don't have a good project, then the project fails, right? And so these are foundational skills, even though they're not part of the admin certification.
Yeah. So, Sheila, let's talk about a little bit more in depth about, the next step. Like, a person has taken the certification, and it would be great if the person has some sort of hands-on experience or some understanding about the Salesforce ecosystem or the Salesforce platform, but which is, of course, mandatory in this case. But what are the next steps? What if, how can a person break through, or how can a person kind of um, um, differentiate themselves from when they're appearing for interviews, or when they are kind of so what is the skill, one skill that nobody talks about but everybody is looking for in a candidate?
I'm not sure there is just one. Um, I actually go into community events and sometimes teach about job hunting, and when I do that, I focus it's called niching or niching. But I think part of the catch is that a lot of times when people move into Salesforce, they're so desperate for a role, they're like, I'll do anything, I'll fill any role. But in fact, most people can help you better if you have a better idea of what you want. And so I actually encourage trainees to really stop and process what it is that they like, what is it they don't like, what kind of culture do they want to work in. And I actually make them sit down and write out it's possible, exactly what they want, and then go looking for that instead of trying to make themselves fit into any hole. So personally, I find that you have a better chance of finding a role when it's a role that's a good fit for you. And they can find out that it's a good fit for you because you bring value to the table, and you find out they're a good fit. It's a two-way street, so it's not just a one way. But I mean, recruiters, oh my gosh, probably everyone's looking for a little bit different skill set, right? Because roles
Yes.
vary a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree with that. um, so let's talk about the resources, the study guide, the preparation. How can one prepare for, because I think this might be a little challenging certification when compared to the the Salesforce Associate one.
It is mostly because the score is higher than what is normally expected. So the score for this one is actually 72%. It is the standard 65 questions, the standard 105 minutes. So it's just as long as the normal exams. But the score is higher. So it does make it a little bit more difficult in that sense. But there are tons of tools out for this one because it's been out since the summer. And so, of course, Trailhead has some great, they have their exam guide and they have their trail mix to study, and they have the certification prep trail. But then there are also a lot of people in the community have already been working on this one. So I actually wrote down, are you familiar with Rakesh Gupta?
Yes.
He's the writer of Automation Champions, and he has a great blog that came out not too long ago, that is specific to this exam, and he has all kinds of resources. They go all over the place. He's done a really good job of pulling a bunch of resources together. So I will make sure I send you that link so that you can have that. But this one does have more exams out there, and there are actually study groups for this one. So for instance, Supermoms has a peer study group coming up for this one in November, and it's free to anyone within the community. They just have to reach out to Supermoms and let us know that they want to join. So there are study groups going on around this one. It's a little bit easier to find resources for this one.
Well, that's good to know. And for everyone who is listening, if you want to join study groups, it's absolutely free. You know who to reach out. Sheila is the person.
Yeah,
And
you can
I
drop
will
me a
be
LinkedIn message. That's fine. I'll hook you up.
sure. That's really helpful, Sheila. So, Sheila, recently there was a lot of chatter on Twitter about why, so that there people are now divided into groups on Twitter, and there's a lot of arguments and a lot of chatter going on whether to um, kind of have. I mean, is it important to gain um, hands-on experience, or just kind of pile up a lot of certifications? um, I mean, there are
Yeah,
some people who say that, um, I mean, I was also reading that you can easily make out when somebody only has certifications and no hands-on experience. And I have actually spoken to many people in the ecosystem who have been working since over a decade, and they only have one certification.
yeah,
So
yeah.
and that's doing so well in the career. So what is your thought process? What do you think about this?
I probably fall somewhere in the middle. And I'll be honest, I thought you were going to say there was argument around the associate certification, because when it first came out, I don't know if you saw the chatter, but people were
Yes.
like, it was like all kinds of arguing over, not arguing, but discussion around all that.
Yeah.
But coming back to your actual question, you know, it's hard. I think that people who've been in the ecosystem for quite a while, they came in a time where Salesforce was a much easier tool to learn. It was significantly simpler. I love listening to their stories because I'm blown away by how much different it is now than it was then.
Yeah.
And so I think it was easier to not have certifications. and to just grow with the platform because you're in-house, right? And so you can just grow along the way. And some of them, I do run into some who are picking up certs now and that kind of thing. I think it's much harder to get your foot in the door now without at least the admin certification, if the admin's, the path you're wanting to take or anything that's built on it. Because the tool is much more difficult than it was before. But I also do think I've actually had an interview really early in my Salesforce career, and the interviewer told me that he had interviewed someone else who had a certification and could not navigate the platform. That's a bad thing. You have to be able to you have to be able to use the platform. You can know everything under the sun, but if you can't use the platform, you can't do your job. And so I think there's a balance in there. I think more and more certifications are important in the Salesforce space. I mean, obviously, because they're giving discounts left and right to get them, right? But experience matters. And it could be that you have to get your own experience. Sometimes it might be that you just build out your own dev org and then you put pictures of it on a portfolio and you share that. Or you have your own problem in a business that you run on the side or in your family, and you make a tool in the Salesforce system that solves that problem, because that's what people are looking for. They want to know that if they hire you, that you can solve their problem, right? And so you have to prove that you can do that. And to prove it, you have to have hands-on experience. It may not be voluntary or for a volunteer org. It may not be paid. You can make it for yourself. But you have to do something. You have to be able to show, I know what I'm doing.
Yes. And I think, like you rightly said, there has to be a balance. Um, because I was actually chatting with somebody who is working in the Salesforce system for over 15 years, and he was saying me how things have changed. He has literally witnessed the Salesforce platform evolving every year, and it's so surprising because and it's not surprising because Salesforce, of course, evolves every day. And so he's just having one certification, and he said that it's enough for me because I am able to demonstrate the skills, I am able to navigate the platform, I'm able to solve people's problems, and I'm able to bring value to the table.
That's right.
That's why I'm still in the ecosystem. um, and that's wonderful. So like you said, you just need one certification to kind of get inside, and then it's all like hands on. And um, of course, getting a certification is a bonus and it's a plus, but also having um, demonstration skills is something which is, I think, even more important than just getting a certification.
I think so too, especially for that first role, right? Now, once you get a role, depending on who you are employed by, they may require that you keep getting certifications. Like consultancies, for instance,
Yeah.
their certifications really matter because that's part of their partnership with Salesforce. Their people have to have a certain number of certifications.
Yeah.
But then you may be in a role like your friend, who the one certification is all he needed that to get in the door, and now his hands-on experience is taking care of it. He might find that if he goes on and gets the app builder or one of the other things, that he learns additional stuff. It's not that he can't learn, but we're all going to keep learning because the platform's always changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So now actually we want to take some questions from our audiences.
Okay.
Okay. So what is the key difference between Salesforce Associate and Business Analyst Certification?
Sure. They're actually completely different certifications. So the associate certification is an entry point into just learning about Salesforce and what it does for businesses. So you are very much learning the basics with that certification. You can't even, it's not meant for you to even be able to get into the back end and do configuration. It is very much understanding the advantage of Salesforce, how how the data is modeled, and like the bigger picture. The business analyst is you are in you are in the system, because you have your admin. You have to understand the configuration. You have to understand how everything works together, the relationships between the objects and all of the validation rules and the automations, and I mean, so that deeper stuff. And then you build on top of it with the business analyst skills. And so they are very different certifications.
Yeah, they're like apples and oranges.
They are. Good illustration.
Okay, let's go to our next question, who is Nishit. Okay. Is it beneficial to pursue Salesforce Associate Cert if an individual also has an admin cert?
Well, we talked about this just a little bit. I think it probably depends on who you are. I would have said, if you had asked me that question when it first came out, I would have said, no way. I'll just be honest, because I'm like, why waste my time? It feels like going backwards. Since then, I've heard from other instructors who feel like taking it has been useful for them because then they understand what's on it, right? Because you don't understand a Salesforce certification test until you've taken the test. They are their own beast. And so I could see it being beneficial for someone like me, who's an instructor. I can see it being beneficial, or a mentor maybe. I mean, not necessarily just an instructor, but someone who mentors and wants to understand it for people that they're mentoring. I can see it being beneficial for someone who's taken their admin. It was a long time ago, and maybe they haven't been in the ecosystem, and they're feeling fuzzy, and their confidence is low, and maybe they feel like they don't quite understand it as well as they might like. You might take it for a confidence booster. Personally, if I had the admin and I have a path in mind for what I want out of my Salesforce career, I would go to the next certification. I wouldn't be going backwards. But you're going to get a different answer from every person you meet. We all have different opinions on that, and it's new. It's been out a week, so.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's quite subjective. It depends on where the person is at the career. If the person wants to, do something else, if the person is confused, if just person wants to learn something and just want to add a certification, they can be a number of reasons why a person should or should not take this particular certification.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah. So, well, do we have any more questions from the audiences? That's it for today. So Sheila, thank you so much for such an insightful session. I think by now our audiences must have gotten an idea about everything related to both the certifications. I just wanted to make an important announcement regarding Salesforce Certification Day, since we are on the topic of certifications. So Salesforce Certification Day is coming up on the 18th of October, and there's a bonus for everybody. All the certification day webinar attendees will receive a coupon code upon completion of their session for 140 US dollars discount of any $200 exam. So initially, this coupon code was for $40, and they have increased it to $140, which is huge. And I think, yeah, and I think more and more people should take advantage of this and make the most out of this.
That's right. And I don't know if people realize, but if you have your admin, for instance, you could take the admin cert day again, or you could do your app builder, you could do one of the other certs and still get that coupon code. Or
Yes.
if you're wanting the associates, they don't have a cert day for it, but you could take the admin cert day. It would still help you. It would still help prepare you. It might be a little over your head, but that's okay, right? Because then you could also still get the code. So just because they don't have a cert day that matches the certification you're wanting doesn't mean that you can't do a cert day and get that code, because that's astonishing. What is that? That's 3/4 off the price or something. It's crazy.
Yes, it's a huge bonus. So I think everybody should make the most out of this. It's only going to benefit people in the future. And I will be posting a link about the Salesforce Certification Day in the comment section. So please don't forget to check this out. A little something about us. We are FENs, a registered Salesforce partner, and we work with some really noteworthy clients and organizations globally. Also, we are hiring for multiple roles. So if you want to work with us, please send in your applications through our website portal, or you can drop us an email at careers@fens.com. So, Sheila, that's it for today. Thank you so much for taking time out on a Friday and sharing your knowledge with us. We are really grateful to have you, and it was truly a wonderful experience. And for people who are listening to us, you can follow us on our social media channels like YouTube and LinkedIn. Please follow Sheila on LinkedIn and Twitter. She's putting out some exciting information. Um, and you can reach out to her with um, questions about the study groups, and she would be able to help. I'll also post a link about that.
Thank
And
you.
that's it, Sheila.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful weekend, and until next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here. And I am going to say, if anyone gets their certification, I want them to tag me on LinkedIn so I know that they got it.
Yes, that's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. So have a beautiful Friday.
You too. Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.